Welcome to part 2 of my trip to the winter markets on Viking. In part 1, we horsed around in Amsterdam for a couple of days, we boarded the Viking Tialfi, and we went to Dordrecht. So what comes next? Well, I'll tell you. We finished our walking tour in Dordrecht at about lunchtime, and as we were having lunch, we began to pull away from the town. And since I brought it up, let's have a look at a Viking River cruise lunch. For lunch, half the menu changes each day and the other half stays the same. There is only the one dining room on the ship, so all the meals are taken there. Most of the lunches started with a small appetizer prepared by the chef. Then, being an American, I had to try the cheeseburger. It was good. This afternoon was as close as a river cruise is going to come to being a sea day. We didn't have anything planned and we could just look out the window. Or we could watch news in the cabin, but nah. Here are some of the views we saw from inside our cabin. As sunset approached, we headed down to the lounge for a drink. This is also where the enrichment talks occur. And you can look out the bow and see where we're going, or out either side. But after I finished my fancy coffee, I wanted to see out the stern. On the fourth upper deck, it was definitely windy, but I'd calculated there would be a beautiful sunset to be seen. Turns out I was right. And it also created an opportunity to show you some of the amenities that were definitely not being used in the winter cruise. You know what? It's a bit nippy. Let's head in for a cooking demonstration.
Also, we prepared for you already the egg mac drink, which our colleagues are already prepared for you.
Oh yes, eggnog, served with or without nog. We were serving alcoholic beverages before we went to dinner and had alcoholic beverages. You see, on Viking, unless you buy an upgrade package, beer and wine are free at lunch and dinner only. This place looks familiar. I think we were here for lunch, but now it's time for dinner. And after dinner, a festive winter party. Every guest was invited to create their own Christmas ornament and to hang it on the tree in the lounge. For those of you who have followed the channel very long, I'm sure you won't be shocked to learn ours was cat themed. Cookies and mulled wine make it the party. Believe it or not, this is the next morning. Remember, it's winter, the sun comes up late. One thing you'll really come to appreciate is how much the Rhine is a working river. After breakfast this morning, lured by the promise of free schnapps, we were given the sales pitch for other cruises. Actually, it's pretty interesting. I definitely like the idea of a future Viking cruise more than I like the schnapps.
That's all the
One really smart thing Viking does that I appreciated was to adjust lunchtime so it doesn't conflict with your excursions. This lunch was pretty Italian themed and I enjoyed it. And looking back, I'm trying to figure out why I only had the banana split once. Well, while that was going on, we were arriving in Cologne. And in Cologne, we were not alone. Other river ships were there, as you'll be shown. Sorry, that got silly and I could have edited it out, but I didn't. So let's have a panoramic view from the point where we docked. When you disembark, you tag out here, and then you walk off the ship, but in this case, you walk off the ship through another ship. That wasn't all that uncommon. When this happens, all you do is walk through the lobby of the other ship. But it does mean back in your cabin, you've got somebody looking right in at you. Here you can see what I meant. As was nearly always the case, we had a guided walking tour. You're not required to take it, but it's already included in the fare, and you might as well because you'll learn a great deal. Turns out we had docked on the opposite bank of the cathedral. Not to worry, there's a lovely rail and pedestrian bridge. And this gives me a chance to complain about these love locks that people put on bridges. Do you like them? Let me know in the comments. It's Kaiser Wilhelm II statue. It's the Society for Modern Art. Cool building. We were told the security was there so that passers-by wouldn't interrupt a music rehearsal. And this looked like a fun but maybe expensive street on which you could get some food or drink, maybe even with Santa. And here we go into the first of the markets. Let's just have a look around for a minute. The walk from this winter market to the next winter market was only about 2 blocks. And I'm not sure, but maybe this counted as a winter market between the 2 winter markets? They run together in a good way. We drew nearer to the cathedral and also to the winter market beside it. This was a big one. This was going to be a hard one to navigate. And at this point, the mission was just to get from point A to point B, so I didn't even try to do any shopping. Look how nice these things are. And look how crowded things get. And I do mention the crowds, but I don't really mean to complain. It was all part of it. And anyway, we saw some empty winter markets later. Having successfully navigated the crowd in this winter market, it was time to move on to Cologne Cathedral. It's time for a little personal history here. I was in Cologne in 1976, and one of the things I remember most was the McDonald's near the cathedral. And there's still a McDonald's near the cathedral. Last time I went there, this time we didn't. I'll be honest, on this trip we saw cathedrals that I found more impressive. Then again, it's not really a competition. And if this one turns out to be one of your favorites, it's understandable why. Coming out of the cathedral, we found that the winter market was actually more chaotic than it had been. Nevertheless, we spent a little time looking around, and this one was a really good one. If you get the opportunity to watch all of my videos on this trip, you'll see the differences in each market. For example, this one in Cologne had more items that were specific to the area, and also more ornaments. And there are multiple markets within each city, so sometimes that makes a difference. And sometimes you just feel like you're looking at the food stands at the county fair. But not here. Our walk back actually took us back to where we had been at the very start, the first of the winter markets. And I'll be honest, it was unpleasantly crowded at this point. Now here's a tip. Go ahead and buy the dumb stuff. You're always going to think you're going to find something better or something more someplace else. But just go ahead and buy it. I'm watching these videos and saying, gee, I wish I'd tried that, or gee, I wish I'd bought that. So go ahead and spend some money. Now it was only about 4:45 and we had the option to stay in town a bit longer, but we chose to head back to our cabin. When the itinerary permits, Viking gives you free time, but you better know your onboard time as well. Cologne at night is really something that's quite attractive. And then we were back underway for our next adventures. I'm dividing this Rhine River cruise and the events before and after it into several different videos because it's a bunch of stuff. So I hope you watch all of them, and I hope you'll subscribe so you won't miss any of them. And with that, you'll see me in the next video. Bye!